Are you ready? All right. All right. Good evening. This open meeting of the Finance Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. You all know why this is. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded to the public along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Finance Committee, we are convening by video conference versus GoToMeeting is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. So we're ready to start the meeting. I know we have a quorum. Has anybody else joined us? Oh, Joni's here now.
Jerry.
Is Jared here? Oh, yes, Jared.
Yes.
Who are we missing then?
Mike and Karen.
Oh, Jared's here.
Karen.
Oh, Karen. Yes, you're right, Karen. All right, well, perhaps she's a bit late. You know, us lawyers work overtime. Occasionally. So Ken is here, right? From the Board of Health?
Yes, Ken's here.
All right, so why don't we jump right to that? I think that's Joni, is that you? You're the liaison. That's you, okay. That's on page C10 of the line item budget. And
right, so can I go? Yeah, so can I go to, do you do the landfill first, or?
Oh, if you wish, that is on the next page.
Yeah, so I go on the, it's page D32 on the.
Okay, it's on the other, yeah, page 4, but page 32?
Yes, is Barbara on? Barbara Barry?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so I do have a question for Barbara. So, pleasantly surprised that most of the budget is kind of, you know, only marginally increased for the landfill, right, from last year. Those two items that your eyes go to are the increases in the cover material and then the disposal for trucking. So I got an education on that. So the cover material, and again, Ken can go into more detail, but it sounds like because the DPW had a change in their mixture, they're not allowed to use that mixture for the landfill. So the landfill had a 20% increase in materials for that reason, and that's for the cover material. This is for the sand and all that stuff that goes on top. So they had to purchase additional material. So that's that, and it's really just it's what, $3-4 grand. The other piece was the disposal and trucking went up a fair bit, and that's just, I mean, the cost of trash pickup has gone up since COVID, and my understanding is that there may be even more increases to come on just recyclables and just that industry in general. And again, Ken can go off on that. I did not have any additional issues, right? The replacement of the roll-off, if you go down to supplies, that 4,200 is not there. They did do that. I guess they were replacing that every year. They don't feel as though they need to do that now, so they're hoping that they can go another year or two to save that cost. So that's kind of where we kind of had an increase in purchase of service and a slight decrease in supplies. The only thing that I wanted Barbara to speak on, I didn't get a chance to go to the increase in the salary and wages. We think it's the DPW increase as well as but I kind of would like, and Ken wasn't sure of that, so I didn't want to put him on the spot. I Barbara could speak on that. Right, because one of the guys, the full-time guy, John Booth, he's DPW and he's full-time, so that might be his, and I believe longevity increase as well. That's landfill. Anyone want to talk to Ken about it?
I do.
Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
Well, we've got this special line item in unclassified to handle these increases. Is money not there for this line item as well, or is this in anticipation whatever gets negotiated?
Which one, Kevin? I'm sorry.
Well, the salaries and wages for landfill, right? We have an unclassified line item now that's supposed to handle all this negotiation stuff, and that's where the money's supposed to come from. So this should just be, I would imagine, a plain 2.5% plus whatever, longevity and whatever else the client, the new pay scale gives him. So how is it 5.8%?
Yeah, I need Barbara to weigh in on that.
Barbara?
Yep, that line item reflects the actual increases due. The DPW contract is not up for renewal. Only the police contract is. So that line item that you're talking about unclassified doesn't pertain to this.
Okay.
So this reflects the steps and the general wage adjustment for the employees in that department.
Excellent. And then my second question is how are we doing with the landfill capping fund?
Can
Where do we
somebody,
see?
I'm sorry, I keep,
Yeah, someone's crunching.
There's some.
Yeah, if you were talking to me, Kevin, I did not hear what you were saying.
I'm just wondering, how do we stand with the landfill capping fund, as far as funds and where we're looking to close it? I would imagine within the next 8 to 10 years.
I think maybe Ken can discuss that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the warrant article that he's looking for he's proposing.
Okay. Ken?
I would love to discuss that, and I can honestly say I can't give you a legitimate answer until we do the study and figure out where we are. We know what we have for money right now, but we have no idea how close we are to closing, and if we're in the ballpark of having the right money in place at this time, if we have too much, too little, or if we're right on target. So to tailor with the warrant article, and I don't want to skip around, but the exact reason the warrant article is there is to do a survey and a capacity study, see what we truly have left for what we're putting in. As best I can figure, talking with the engineer and looking through the files that we have, I'm not sure we've had a legitimate study done on that since it was built, since this cell was built and engineered and put together. So it's been subjective guessing on how much we're filling every year. We know we're putting in so many tons. We think we're putting in the right volume of soil, but nobody's gone out there and surveyed it. So without a survey, and then be able to match that to what we have for a final closure plan, or what was estimated as a final closure plan, it's really hard. It's a shot in the dark as where we're going. So that's one of the reasons. That's the main reason why we're looking at the warrant article, is to give you, so I can sit and have a better educated discussion with the finance department, with Barbara and with Jeff and my board, and figure out where we are and what we need to do, whether we need to modify bag prices, whether we need to start preparing for a closure, whatever it is. It's just hard to tell you when I don't know how long we have there.
Okay.
Fair answer?
How much is in the capping fund right now? I thought we were into the 7 figures at this point.
I think it's 6 figures, unless I'm mistaken, Barbara.
I'm actually trying to look that up, but I've lost my remote connection to my work right now, so I will get that for you in a moment.
Okay.
It's definitely 6, no, not 7.
And Ken is referring to Article 32 of the warrant. So that's a $9,000 request. Is that a firm quote, Ken, that you got?
Yes, there's a firm quote. There's a firm quote from the engineer that's good through the summer.
Okay.
It is as cheap as we can get it. It's split into 2 sections. One is the actual. They're going to set up markers on the landfill and do a drone survey, which is significantly cheaper than a physical survey with surveyors. So to do what we're doing, this is probably the cheapest way about going about it. They set up markers, they fly it with a drone, they do some laser work, and then they start matching that to the design that was put there. So part of it's the drone, and part of the drone survey, and the other part is the landfill capacity analysis. So both of those combined is $9,000, and like I said, that's about the cheapest I think we can do with the current engineer that we're using now for our inspections. We've had him for I think 5.5 years or 6 years when I looked at my contract. So he's got a good handle on what we have for the landfill, what's on site there, boundaries and stuff, and a pretty good history on it. And like I said, it's not a survey that we could use to come back to and build the landfill with. We still need something on the ground. We get ready to cap, but it's going to give us a really good idea where we are, plus or minus, a year, 8 months type thing.
So
Go ahead, Ken.
all right, so it's really an approximation. That's good. So it's not something that's like a legally accepted study, like if whatever, because some of this drone stuff isn't, it's good for doing the approximations, but it's technically not allowed.
So we're not doing boundary work. We're doing an approximation no matter what. And I can go out with a survey crew for a third or 50% more to do this. But I don't need some benchmark. Benchmark's
I
already
think
set.
that's
I don't need
fine.
to set boundaries. Yeah. But yeah, so it's like I said, it's fantastic for the science is fantastic for doing this kind of work. And that's what it's there for. So in whatever 7, 8, 10 years, whatever we have to close. If you ask me why the engineering is going to cost more, because I'm going to put people on the ground. So that'll be the same discussion at some point. Going, hey, at one point you did a drone survey, and yes, like you're saying, it's not acceptable for boundaries and finish grades and that kind of stuff. But it is very acceptable for giving us a really good handle on where we're at. Are we 8 to 10 years out? Are we 10 to 12? Are we 5 to 7? Are we 12 to 15? Get an idea of where we're at on that side. That'll easily get us a better handle on, do we have enough money? Are we right on target? Can we manipulate the money and go someplace else with it, cover some other things, or are we behind? Do we need to start finding some other way to fund it?
Okay.
So I think once we do this, next winter, I'll be able to have way more educated discussions with Barbara and Jeff and with you guys and have a handle on what we have for long-term planning with the landfill.
So you're expecting a quick turnaround. You'll be able to do it in July and have it in a couple of months.
It is. He originally quoted me doing the work, signing the contract, doing the work in January, February, and doing the analysis completed. So had I been able to do it this fiscal year, it would have been in hand before June. So if we're doing it in July, the expectation is I would have it in probably October.
Okay.
I would have hard numbers. I can't say hard numbers, but solid numbers to work with that I can start next budgetary season with and have good discussions to go with. So yes, it'll be a really quick turnaround. What I'm expecting.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay,
Certainly.
any questions?
I could just give you the figure for landfill closure. It's 609,000.
That's all. I was hoping you guys put a 1 in front of that.
Not today.
Not today.
Let's see if anybody else has any questions. Larry?
No.
Okay, Mike?
I had one, but now Barbara raised two. So, when do we fund that closure account? Because I didn't see it as a warrant article here, and I don't see where we're picking up in the budget. So that would be. Let me just ask that, and then I'll go to my second one.
The revenue that is generated at the recycling center is what funds that account.
Okay, thank you. And my second one, So disposal and trucking is up $5,000. Johnny's explanation was that was because of the increased volumes of trash resulting from the COVID situation here. And while I agree that that seems to be a new phenomenon, this budget was put together and presented long before that phenomenon came around. So I'd kind of like to know what the thought process was when this increase was put in prior to that event coming up and why they thought it needed to increase at that time.
Not a problem. So I think Joni simplified it after the long conversation we had yesterday. So for sure, our costs have gone up. They were already up in November, December, January when this was put together. We already knew we were behind the curve. If you've watched or looked, and most people, and I don't hold anything against anybody. Trash seems to be part of my world, and viruses are part of my world. But if you're watching anything in the recycling market, the market sort of crashed last year pretty hard across the world. And the recycling wasn't worth what it was worth 2, 3, 4, 5 years prior to that. It's been on a downward trend for the past decade, and we're not sure where it's going to go. So the $5,000 increase, and I talked to Joni yesterday, I'm not sure that's even going to be enough. We might have to talk about this again in the fall about manipulating stuff so we don't have to do a transfer. But COVID definitely put a bigger wreck on that, and we're not sure what it's going to be, since a fair amount of the recycling that we do is closed right now. We can't even send stuff out. We ceased taking in a lot of bulk items. We're not taking appliances. We're not taking Freon items. We're not taking tires, and some of the bulk metals we're not taking. So, and that's all because up the waste stream, they're closed. We have nowhere to shift it to, and we can't store it on site for more than 30 days once we collect it. So we're looking forward to things opening back up and seeing what the market brings to us. I'm hoping people are hungry, and if they've been closed for 30 or 60 days, maybe we start seeing better prices, but I haven't a clue right now. John doesn't have a clue. He's giving me the best information I can get, but we don't have I don't have a crystal ball to see it. So the long answer is obviously the market's been crashing, and it was already crashing. December was the first time, I forget, newsprint went out, and it didn't pay for itself. It barely paid for the trucking. And newsprint used to bring money in, like it made us money. So we're seeing some interesting downward trends globally. So that's the answer I have for you on that.
Okay, I'm all set. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, Jared, any questions?
No questions.
And can I interject one quick thing?
Sure.
The study we're talking about, one of the reasons is because I've been looking at these numbers for the past year. I worked in landfill over in Warren. I've seen a couple others. Some of my thing is I'm hoping we're getting to a point where we have the money someplace, because the capping is being funded by the money we generate rather than being able to roll it back into many places. The money that you bring in is the money you use to pay for the disposal and trucking. It's an even. You know, if it costs $10 to get rid of an appliance, you take the $10 in, and then it's a wash at the end of the day. Right now, that the money we bring in goes into the capping, which is it's a difficult. You know, you got to pay for something somewhere. Got to get paid for it. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, where we can work on funding and how that's going to work. So that's some of the reason what I'm looking at and talking to Barb about.
Okay. Jim, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Bruce?
No questions.
Karen?
No questions.
Is everybody all set? Any further questions?
I have. Well, just so based on the what you're talking about, your income stream versus what's going on, because how big of a money losing proposition is the recycling center?
I don't know. It's hard to say without knowing what I've got. I don't have true cost accounting going on up there or anywhere else in the town. So, if the landfill's open, the recycling center has to be open. You know, the waste ban affords the fact that we can't put waste in the ground without recycling. So it's hand in hand. We can have a recycling center without a landfill, but we can't run a landfill without a recycling center. So that's a hard question to even jump into.
Okay.
You all set, Kev?
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Right, Joni, you ready to make a motion on the landfill?
I will make a motion. I move the motion to accept the landfill recycling center budget in the amount of $289,697.
Second. Kevin Smith said.
Second. I recognize your voice now, Council. So if there's no further questions or comments, roll call vote. Larry? Jared?
Yes. Aye.
Joni? I assume you're good.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. So passes 9-0.
So Kathy,
Yes.
well, here, would you be willing to accept a motion to accept Article 32 as written? To approve Article 32 as written?
I would. And then we can do the rest of the Board of Health one. Yeah.
Well, we're right here and we just discussed it.
We just discussed it.
I'll move that motion to accept the article as written.
I'll second.
Any just on that? Any further discussion?
Just to be picky, Kathy, the motion is to recommend town meeting accept the article as written?
Approve the article as written.
To approve the articles. Yes. It's Article 32, on page 19 of the town meeting warrant
$9,000.
for $9,000. Maybe we should read it to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount to sum of $9,000 to perform a drone survey and landfill capacity analysis or take any action relative thereto. I assume that was your motion, Johnny, right?
It certainly was, Kath.
Okay. Any discussion? If none, roll call vote. Jared? Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. So that passes 9-0. That's Article
Kathy,
32.
who made the motion and made the second?
Joni and Kevin. Joni made the motion and Kevin seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to the line item budget with the Board of Health.
Board of Health. So the Board of Health's on C10, and I'm going to go over to the detailed information, which is on D35.
Okay.
Okay, again, slight increases. We've had some puts and takes. So the tuition reimbursement, I think we touched briefly on this. It's done, except last year's, correct? So that's why it's not included here, right?
Yep, no, we didn't even, I didn't even put in tuition reimbursement because
Right.
we've done other, we weren't looking to use it and Trish wasn't looking to use it at this point, so easy way to just leave that out of the budget, move that along.
Great, thank you. We talked about everything except that. So increases in wages, which are in line. I guess, again, I'd like Barbara to weigh in. And again, so Kevin, just so I'm clear, like when I mentioned that there was a reevaluation on the landfill guy, I was talking about the job description. I didn't mean to imply that money was for the personnel committee money. Okay, I didn't mean to confuse everybody on that. It was just the DPW increase that was really it. And I think same thing here. We talked about we have the health inspector included, as well as the administrative assistant and the agent included in those wages. I think is skewed slightly. Not sure if there's a step in there for Erin. Okay, so if you have any questions, I really didn't see that there was a whole lot here that had any issue. We talked about the federal, so there was a federal grant given for the COVID-19, money from the, money from the state or federal, I'm not sure, but which allowed it was a state, okay. 3 additional public health nurses have been recruited, and they are helping with the community health nurse. So that's by a grant from MEMA, I guess. That also includes additional money and funding for some PPE that's needed. So it looks like I was actually a little nervous thinking that maybe COVID-19 was going to really put a burden on the Board of Health budget this year, so I was really surprised not to see that. The thing that jumps to me was we talked about the new electronic test kits, which I guess reduces the pool testing, which was kind of interesting to hear. It's something to actually decrease the way we do it. That's really it. I guess if you have any questions.
Any questions? Larry, any questions?
No questions.
Kevin?
I'm good, thank you.
Jared?
No questions.
Jim?
I'm good.
Mike?
All set, thank you.
Bruce?
All set.
Karen?
No questions.
Okay, so, Jim, you want to make, some of these things are actually broken out in the line item budget, so we'll go by the department. You want to make the first motion for the Board of Health itself.
And then the community health, yeah, sure.
The health, and then the inspections and testing, 'cause that's the public health inspector there.
Yep.
Those 3, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to accept the Board of Health budget in the amount of $111,363.
Seconded.
Kevin Smith, second. Okay. Roll call vote. Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Larry? Larry?
Yes.
And Jared?
Yes.
And Kathy? Yes. That's 9-0. Thank you. Moving on to community health.
Okay, and then on community health, I move a motion to accept their budget in the amount of $4,000.
Seconded.
Kevin Smith, second. Okay. Let's see, roll call vote. Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
If you're not, I might be able to see you. Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. 9-0, it passes. And the last one is inspections and testing.
Yep, so I move the motion to accept the inspections and testing budget for $47,923.
Seconded.
Kevin Smith, second. All right, roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni? Joni?
Oh, sorry, me, yes. Sorry.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen? And Kathy, yes. That's 9-0 too, as well. 9-2-0 as well.
May I ask a question? This is Ken.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, who's that?
Ken, the health agent.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
So I've got my paperwork here. I'm not sure how it's broken down on the what the breakdown means for you guys on your vote that you're doing. So I'm kind of curious how these are. So the 47,973. What is that?
It's the public health inspector at 47,973, and then the
Community health care is 4.
yes, and community
I
health.
saw that. Okay. So she's the health inspector is actually broken out as a separate.
Yes,
vote for
it
you
is.
guys?
Yes,
Okay.
even though the line item.
My first time going through with you guys. I'm not sure how it's all working.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why that happens, but it's been that way. So we break out the community health and the public health inspector, and then all the rest is under Board of Health.
Okay.
Nothing to do with numbers. I don't know. The UMass system. Barbara, you might be able to tell us why.
History.
Hi, Kathy. You got it.
Is the UMass number?
It is a separate department.
Okay.
Now, we do have one item in the capital budget, if you wanted to hit that. Just
Oh, yes, thank you.
you.
What was that one?
So it's the grinder pump. Page F5.
Oh, yeah, 15,000.
So it appears that, so we have two. It sounds like one is redundant. They're both within a year of each other, and they're both around 8 or 9 years old. The life seems to be around 10. They're to just replace the one, and then in a year or two, replace the other one. You know, they're hoping to get a little bit more life out of the one. I guess that's redundant. So I got quite the education on it. Ken can talk more about it if you guys have questions, but it seems pretty reasonable to me. Now, the question, of course, and I gave my little spiel to Ken about, the COVID-19 and not really having a whole lot of money to spend. And I personally, as everybody knows, would love to cut money that we don't need for the team, but at the same time, I certainly understand we can't cripple a department, and this seems to me like it's definitely something that needs to be replaced. If you wait and, get a reserve fund transfer to cover the cost, who knows if it would be more, I don't know, but is that something that, consider that? I actually don't think so. I figure it's a reasonable expense to me. So if Ken wants to talk more about this grinder thing, feel free.
I would love to. So in the landfill, you've got the landfill proper, and in the bottom there's a liner, and it collects the leachate and goes into a large tank, and from there we pump it out and it goes for treatment. Inside that large tank, we've got another tank that it overflows into where we have 2 pumps. And these pumps are what pumps the leachate up to the trucks when they come in to collect the leachate. So what I've been, and the year I've been looking at this, or pretty much the last 8 months where I've been looking at this and taking stuff, John and I look at these, and they're somewhere in the range of 8 or 9, 7 to 9 years old. They've got a lifespan of 8 to 10 years. You can get 11 or 12 sometimes, but these pumps sit in leachate, so they're not just sitting in like sewage, which I know that doesn't sound like could be better or worse, but leachate is way more toxic than the sewage. So the same type of grinder pump, you could get a little bit more life on if it weren't a caustic environment. So what our hope is to separate, because these were both within a couple of years of each other, separate it and get one new one going now, and then see if we can't get longer life out of the second pump. And like I said, in like the 2-year marker, maybe come back and see if it's part of a larger capital plan, and see if we can't have them staggered so they're not being replaced within the same year, 18 months of each other, which happened last time. So The 15,000 is for, that's what we got for the quote from Cat's Pump. You know, we would go to bid on this stuff, but the Cat's is who does the maintenance on the pumps right now. So that is we know is a viable number from a pump company that could, you know, bid this. So it could be lower if we go to bid. It may come in 1,000 or 2,000 lower than that. But we know that price there is a legitimate number if we get a company to come in and book it on their time and their schedule and work it in and do it when it needs to be done. If our pumps fail, like if we lose one and then we have something go wrong with whatever happens because of the life of the other one, you end up in a situation where you have a serious environmental issue. When it overflows, one of two things can happen. It could bubble up out of the leachate area, containment area, and it could then be an environmental issue on the outside of the landfill, or depending on how long it went or when it went into time of year, if we could get in or not work on it, it could back up on the landfill liner, possibly overflow the landfill liner, and then create an issue for us in a dozen different areas around the edge of the landfill liner. And we have quite a few sensitive areas up there that we prefer not to overflow leachate on, and DEP usually starts with fines when we do that kind of stuff. So our hope is to not go that route and maybe work on the maintenance of these things and get into a long-term plan. And I'm hoping to get this pump done and then come back to you guys again in that November, December time frame and work with Barbara and have more of a 3 to 5 year plan for other replacements and work going on up in the recycling center and landfill area. So this is the first step in kind of getting onto a maintenance plan, a long-term maintenance plan for equipment up there. Questions?
Anybody have any questions? Kevin?
This is Jim. I have a question.
Oh, Jim, go ahead.
Let you go. Go ahead.
Just a curiosity question. Once you have a replacement pump on site ready to install, and that process begins, what's the downtime from the time you shut the pump you're replacing down until the new one is up and running? In period, is it hours? Is it days? Is it a week? I'm just curious.
It would be done inside of a week, usually 2 days. So what we would do when something like this is we book it in between pumps, like pump outs. We pump out the tank completely, and then they start the work. You know, we pump out the tank completely on a particular morning, clean the tank, empty it out, and set the guys down in and start doing their work to remove the one pump and the rails and all the other stuff that goes with it, and install the next one. And if everything works fine, it's done inside of a 10 or 12 hour period. If not, it could be a few more hours. So it could be a 2-day process. Hopefully it's a 1-day process. You know, we're pumping, depending on weather, generally every couple of days. So we like to be able to get in and done and not have to have them overflow, overlap, or back up anything there. So
Okay.
that's the
So
hope.
that time frame allows for, if the second pump for some terrible reason should fail, you could survive that by getting the first pump replaced and up and running, and not run into a disaster. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes, that's a definite fair assumption. That's the hope is that that's why it's a redundant system. So if one fails, you always have a way to do that. My fear is that you get to the point now that you're both within a few years of failure, and what's stopping them from both dying at any given time. And then I'm into what I promised you I wouldn't be in here for last year. Is I'll be in for an emergency pump project and the reserve fund transfer type stuff, which is what I promised I would try not to do last year when I saw you last.
Well, this is good. This is a great idea. This is proactive maintenance, and it's a good idea.
Kevin?
Yeah, so I know you said this was a toxic environment, but is this really any different type of a grinder pump than those that are used in the sewer system?
I'm not sure if they're completely different, and it's not particularly toxic so much, but it's caustic. And so I think the pumps are similar. I think there's more stainless steel and more like the rails that are put down there. There's a few other things that are a little more protected for this, so we get longer life out of what's going on. They mount on a rail system that sits down in the leachate tank. The rails can fail, pump can fail. Any of the connections to the pumps that are pumping up to the mounted piping, any of those things can break or fail. And so as far as the exact, whether it's this or something that's in the sewer system, I don't know if they're exact models, but they're very similar.
I was just curious, if the town buys, backup pumps. I didn't know if, bulk buying would make it cheaper.
I don't know if bulk buying would make it cheaper. I didn't go into looking at. I was hoping to just get one and start with there. I hadn't looked into other options of purchase. This is my first run at the capital plan and doing some maintenance, proactive maintenance up there. So.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Bruce.
what happens when the grinder stops, when it fails? Is there damage to other parts of the operation?
In what sense? Can you qualify that question a little better?
This is the grinder. I'm thinking like if it grinds to a halt, that might be bad. Is that worse to replace than just replace it while it's still working?
Oh, yeah. So it's sort of like a car engine failing. It could be the extent of where it just ceases and stops, or if it fails for another reason, like one of the rails breaking while this thing is trying to pump, you can actually you can snap fittings or snap pipes or anything else that are down inside of the. There's two pumps coming up to a pipe system that pumps up to an exit port where they connect with the pumper truck. So it can be as easy as it just ceases to work and it's just laying down there dead, or it could literally come unhinged like off a rail or something like that and flop around down there and snap or break some other stuff. So it could go a variety of ways. So.
Is there a market for secondhand grinders?
Generally not. In this scenario, there might be something. I don't know if they would take this back and refurbish. I doubt they refurbish it. I don't know if we can put it into our metal recycling and try and get a couple of pounds of metal out of it. But because it's been sitting in leachate for 8 or 9 years, generally there's not a lot left of it when they pull them out that's usable that I've seen. Now I can be wrong, and I can ask Kat that question and see if there's anything they can do with that. I didn't.
What I was thinking was that it might be possible to purchase one now and not use it till one of them breaks down, and then you'd already have it on hand. You could replace it, and you get the maximum amount of time out of that one.
That is a consideration. Nope, and it's a consideration that we've looked at and talked about, but it's still at that point, I'm still sort of in an emergency situation. The only difference is I have the pump on hand. It's paid for.
That's right.
It doesn't change the fact that I've got to get a company in off of their schedule where they've already got other people booked and try and get them to work on us instead of somebody else before anything else fails. So that's the only separation between it. It's But can I do that? If that was what somebody wanted us to do, I can consider it, but I don't think that'd be the best thing to do if we're going to do proactive maintenance on it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Anybody else have any questions on the grinder pump?
I'm sorry, one last question.
Okay.
Does the $15,000 include maintenance?
Maintenance, like what? I would say no. I mean, I'd have to ask them what they want. I mean, I'm sure we've got. I look at the quote on the stuff. They're doing our maintenance now. I imagine there's a term of a warranty on the pump itself, but this particular quote is coming from our maintenance company, and because of the cost of it, we'd go out to bid. So when you ask if it includes maintenance, I'm not sure on. This was for the installation and purchase and installation of this pump. So I can't say that we're going to get long-term maintenance on this.
Thanks again.
Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, I think we're done with you, Ken. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ken.
Oh, no, thank you. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for having me. Are you all set with me?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you,
No, not a
John.
problem. Not a problem. And like I said, hopefully if we get through this, I'll have more answers for you in the fall. We can talk again. Talk to you. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. Moving on, I don't see, the schools joining us yet, so,
I told them to be here for 7:30 because I thought we had a lot to go to by the time we would get there.
well, they had another meeting, so that was part of it, so.
That is too, yeah.
Yeah, so we could go to, the inspection services. I know that Nelson wasn't able to join us, but Jim, hopefully you're, I think that's you, yeah. You talked to Nelson though, right?
I've had several conversations with Nelson over the last couple of months, so.
Okay, so the building inspectors on C7, and then the other inspectors are on top of C8.
Right.
You want to start with the inspector, Jim?
So which one do you,
Building
why
inspector.
don't we start with the building inspector on D25?
D25, okay. Oh, yeah.
So if we look at that, let's just get past the salary section first and go to purchase of services. And you can see that that's flat, and that's basically annual certification and training, which hasn't changed. If we go to supplies are actually down by just a little over $800, and that's because Nelson doesn't have to replace all the code books every year. That's a rotating schedule, so this year that happens to be on a down cycle. If we go down to other charges, those remain flat, and those are pretty self-explanatory, dues and memberships and travel expenses. So if we now jump back up to the salary section, I think it's pretty self-explanatory on the longevity side. And as far as the salaries, Nelson had a step, which he now puts him, I think, at the top of the existing scale. So he had the step, and then there's the 2.5% that we're doing on top of that increases with the step. And then for Cindy, she had the same situation. She had a step plus the 2.5%. So if you run the arithmetic, that's the only change up there is that the 2.5% plus any step change took place. So I don't know that requires much more explanation than that.
Okay, questions?
Any questions?
I'm good.
Larry?
No questions.
Jared?
No questions.
Joni?
No questions?
Mike?
Done, thank you.
I think we got Kevin. Bruce?
No questions.
Karen?
No questions.
Okay, we ready? I think we're ready for a motion then, Jim, for the building inspector.
I can do that, or Kathy, would you like to go through all three of these in the D section and then go back and do all three on the D? It's up to you. Because these pages run consecutively, and it's very minor stuff.
Yeah, the other two are pretty minor. Yeah, go ahead. The next one's
So
the
if we go to D26, Wheeler, that's a state contract, and that's what the amount is to pay the state. Have someone go and do all the scale verifications and put the seal on it. For instance, the gasoline pumps are an example of that. So this is just a flat fee we pay for the service. But I believe the state performs that, but Jeff Obama could verify that. That's not a function we perform.
That's correct. Any questions on the sealer rates and measures?
No.
I don't think I'll go through, but I don't think anybody has anything else. About the electric and plumbing inspectors, Jim?
Okay, so that requires some explanation, but that's been reduced by a total of $5,000. And I got the history from Nelson, and I went back to the previous books. And we had a spike a few years back. So the budget was increased to cover that because we had a lot more activity. But what's happened is it's declined in 19 and so far in 20 to the point where Nelson, I guess talking to Barbara and Jeff, and he's comfortable with this and reducing this down to this level because it's still a reduction, but he still feels comfortable that unless something extraordinary happens, it's not going to spike back up again. And under the circumstances, and this was done before this COVID thing, and I would suspect that if anything, that's going to put a damper on any potential increases here. So basically, this is a reduction of $5,000 over previous years. Nelson asked for the same thing. Jeff reduced it. And in my conversation with Nelson, he understood and accepted the reason for the reduction, and he's perfectly okay with it.
Okay.
So,
Questions?
I got none.
Anybody? Jared?
No.
I can pick up people I can't see. Jody?
No, I'm done.
Karen?
I'm good.
All right. I think we're ready for a motion then. Let's start with the building inspector.
let me find it now.
It's back on
He's on
seven.
C7, bottom of the
C7.
page. So I'll make a motion to accept the budget of $132,147. Motion to accept the budget in the amount of $132,147.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. 9-0 passes. Okay, the next page is the sealer of weights and measures. Jim, you want to make that motion? Jim?
I silenced it, I'm sorry. I'll make a
Oh.
motion to accept the proposed budget in the amount of $5,350.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second by Kevin Smith. Roll call vote. Mike?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Kathy, that's another 9-0 vote. The last one here is the electric and plumbing inspectors. Are you ready for a motion?
Kathy?
Yes.
I just want to make sure. I don't think I said yes to that one, but I just want to make sure my vote is yes.
I wrote it down. I'm actually
Okay.
writing every one down next to each other. Yeah.
All right, sorry.
I don't know. Unless I'm dreaming, who knows? I'll put you down as a double yes, but it doesn't increase the number. And moving on to the electric and plumbing inspectors. Jim, you ready to make that motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the budget in the amount of $53,399.
Second.
Evan Smith seconds. I'm going to start with you, Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. It's 9-0. All right. Let's see. What else? Kathy? Yes.
Kathy, it's Jim. If you want to do one more that's very simple, I talked to Tony Crane today, the tree warden.
Okay, I was just going to say, talk to the tree warden.
Yeah, and I'm all set to talk about that if you want.
All right,
He's not going
let's go
to.
ahead, because the schools aren't there. We got to dig through this stuff, so we have a couple other little ones here and there, so let's go ahead.
Okay, well, it's on page 28.
8,
If
okay.
anyone's had a chance to look, this is the detail. There's a slight increase of just over $400 or so in police details and also tree removal and maintenance. And I'll just add to that Tony did verify for me that by the end of last year, we had expended all the money we used for all those dead trees. I mean, that was a big number. I think it was over $250,000 total that we put out there to get rid of all the gypsy moth damage. that's pretty much all spent, and these are just slight increases to cover what he anticipates, although he said the scale of the damage out there is still pretty large, far more than we remedied with the efforts we made in the last year and a half. We have it's pretty flat for what's been approved for ash tree removal. Ash tree treatment, that's for the emerald ash borer. So that number is, it looks like it's about $800 more, $16,131 last year versus $16,956 for this year. Now, one thing that did stand out, I looked at the budget, there was a lot of money still out, not dispersed yet, in the last report you sent to us, but I checked with him, he got back to me. So we showed about a $12,000 balance, but he said it just hasn't been paid yet. He's waiting for it, but he knows at least $9,500 of the remaining balance has been spent, and he expects by June 30th the rest will be spent. We go to office supplies and groundskeeping. No change there. No change in travel and no change in dues or membership. So it's less than a $1,000 increase from year to year. And he did say that, I think we all know that, we appreciate it, that the amount of time Tom Chamberlain put in before he left as tree inspector in the last year and a half or 2 years on all that tree removal work was incredible. So, you know, I just wanted to point that out. So I'll open for questions. If I have any answers, I'll be happy to share them.
Okay, questions. Larry?
No.
Jared?
No.
Joni?
None.
Jim? Oh, I'm sorry, that was you, Jim. Mike?
No questions.
Okay, Kevin?
I'm good, thank you.
Bruce?
No questions.
Karen?
No question.
Did have one. Jim, I don't know if you asked this. Is there any evidence that we have that emerald ash borer or whatever it's called in Sturbridge?
I believe that Tom confirmed that last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was low incidence.
It's in the area. It's in central Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I didn't ask him specifically, but I thought Tom told us it was. It's
was.
an insidious thing because the tree's infected before you know it's infected.
Right. Okay. I think we're ready for a motion then, Jim. Back on.
So I'll make a motion to accept the budget for the tree warden in the amount of $21,603.
Second?
Kevin, second. Roll call vote. Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
I'm a no.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Kathy, yes, so that is 8-1 passes. Ah, I see Deb Boyd is here. Are we ready to move on to education then? Deb, are you on?
There was some beautification stuff, betterment stuff for the tree warden,
Oh, okay. Let's do that, sorry.
but it's pretty self-explanatory. Page G2, I think there's 3 items there, and they're all repetitive of last year. The total of this, we have tree maintenance townwide. Request is $10,000. Last year it was $9,500. The town common tree maintenance, it's $7,322, which is a $330 increase from last year. And annual request for tree and park maintenance, street landscaping, is $2,000, and that's the same as last year. So the total is up about $850 versus a year ago. And I believe that was it.
Well, does he also come under the tree planting, the Arbor Day program? Is that his request? You know? It's just up, it's 1,910.
What page is that on?
It's right there. It's just, it's on the same page, G2. It's, third from the top. Third down from the top.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I would assume it is, but I'm not sure.
Yes, it is.
Tom used to do that, yeah. That's what I thought.
Okay. I missed it.
That's all right. Does anyone have any questions on that, on those? All right. We ready to, and now Erin is here too. So our school people are here. Oh, that boy's left. I hope she's coming back.
She's coming back. We had some technical difficulties, but we're good.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So Kevin, do you want to do a little introduction since you're the liaison? I know you talked to
Deb.
Deb.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, everything that we need to look at is on C8.
Yeah.
I mean, we vote the bottom line number. Like most years, you know, you typically have the big hitters that increases here. Salary adjustments. You have special ed costs. And then in this year for Burgess, there is an increase in the technology replacement budget. They're going through, I guess you would call it the first year, and at least what's laid out here in a 5-year plan of doing technology replacement, because a lot of their, they had the boards you could write on, and then they could print out the boards, and those are breaking down and being replaced. And I forget exactly what she told me they're being replaced by. But that whole technology plan is in here. There is a new program going into Tantascwa. I don't know if you can see my little brochure here for it. It's called the Bridge Program. You know, they've had a lot of success in the past with bringing programs in-house and making it work it. And this Bridge Program is, as it states right underneath here, a learning place for healing adolescents. It's going to be in-house. There are 2 teachers running it currently as before we've gone into this kind of school shutdown period, we're running it as a test program, pilot program, and we're getting good results. And I actually have one question on the numbers, but I was hoping Deb was going to get back here.
Just talk. Okay, you want me to talk? I've switched Sharon. Hi, guys.
So Deb, I just have one question on the number. When we changed emails on Tuesday, you know, I had quoted 479,503 for the Tantascwa town share.
Let me.
But in
go
the
ahead.
paperwork you gave me when we actually met in person, I had 7478621. Which number are we going with?
So when you gave me, and I apologize, I have technical difficulties in my office with the mic. You all sounded like mice, literally talking mice. So I have left my office and joined Erin in hers. But does yours video not work? Oh, I see the camera.
Okay.
Could be working.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Well, I'll keep talking for now. I'm trying to remember. It just doesn't want to.
It doesn't, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Kevin, the last number, oh, see, it's there, but it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
It's weird. See, I have the perfect camera. She has
Okay.
the perfect audio. So we're just going to go audio. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think we'll do it that way.
So the last email you sent me, Kevin.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? Did I fail to respond to you?
You did. You responded.
Okay. And I think, the figures, I said those figures were accurate.
Right.
I believe the Tantascwa figures you gave me included transportation. Does that make sense?
No, the transportation is a separate line item, which is just $6,000.
No. The regional, that $6,000 is
Oh, I
probably
see what you said.
charter.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
you
the,
did include
that's the
the
charter
after.
school, Heather.
You got it. You're right. Thank you.
Okay, so those two, yes. The regular operational plus the regional transportation is the figure you gave me. Yep.
Yes, correct.
Okay, awesome.
Completely lost that. Thank you.
So those numbers were accurate and where we all were, and still are at this point in time, not knowing anything else. But what else would you like Erin and I to just kind of ramble on what we know and don't know, or do you have specific questions?
Well, I guess, are you finding this kind of homeschooling with oversight from teachers in the district is resulting in more cost, less cost, about the same?
Yeah, So cost, okay, so we'll go through fiscal 20. There are clearly a few line items that will have less cost this year, and you don't hold me to it, I'm willing to kind of predict. I think typically we have maybe around $30,000 or so that we turn back. I can see, as I went through things earlier today, we should be somewhere between 75 and 100,000 that we're turning back at the end of the year. The only line items that we're going to see savings this year are the substitutes, because there's very few substitutes. The teachers are teaching their classes and hitting it hard, other than there's a couple that we knew were going to have maternity leave, and those are still happening. So substitute line, there's money left. Utilities, the electricity is down, and I can't even say it's all because of this closure. I still think we're seeing a good chunk of savings because of your net metering credit deals. So between having less electricity being used and those deals, I think I'm anticipating there's probably $30,000 to $35,000 to be left on that line. I don't know for sure what the last 2 months of electricity will be, but there should be some money there to release. And finally, the most obvious, the bus transportation gasoline use, there should be a good chunk of money left there. So when I look at those pockets, we certainly anticipate we should be turning back more than we usually do. Most of the other lines are going to be pretty completely spent. Things like, your consumables, your supplies, and your textbooks, those are usually front-loaded. Those are bought at the beginning of the year. We go out to bid for certain supplies, even, and paper, and you buy that at the beginning of the year for the whole year. So there's not a whole lot left by March to get through the rest of the year that hasn't been spent. All the other lines, and if you're not aware, I'm happy to kind of go through. All of the rest of the the salary lines are being paid out as they planned all along. The teachers are working really hard, in some cases harder than they ever thought they would, trying to figure out how to do this remote thing and do it. The support staff, classroom assistants, the special ed folks are reaching out individually to families. There's home visits, or at least, a pop-in going on sometimes with the principals if kids are, disengaged or they're not able to connect with them. A lot of social emotional conversations going on. The custodians are still in every day. There was a 1 or 2 week period that we pulled them back when we were hitting the surge and gave them online training to do, but they're now back full-time, just mostly days as opposed to the night schedule, doing projects and keeping the building clean. We do have staff at this point in time with a lot of structure going in to get some things they might need to continue with the rest of the year. We've got to, hopefully after Monday, when we hear our latest from the governor, we'll start planning a way for kids to get in and get their belongings. They literally left Friday and were not allowed back in. So we've got to build that schedule in, and then the custodians will certainly have to be involved in that. So custodians are still getting their pay. Cafeteria workers are still getting their pay. We started off giving out bags of food every Monday to those in need. And that grew, I think the first week in Sturbridge was, I think, maybe 40 to 45. We're now up to almost 80 and now we've increased to, we're giving breakfast and lunch items. We were doing Monday to cover the whole week, so 5 meals in a bag, 5 days of meals in the bag. And then at first we weren't even getting any claim reimbursement at all for even those. That finally has changed. We've got the distinction to be able to claim those meals. We actually also found out that we can also put out meals for weekends and get reimbursed. So starting last week, we've got Monday and Thursday, and then they prep in between, but we're sending out bags of food to those that need. We're delivering some of them actually right to Heritage Green because they were having difficulty getting to the school to pick up. So cafeteria workers are also keeping busy working, occasionally doing some professional development. But I think I've rambled probably enough that you might have some questions, and the bottom line is most of the current year budget will be spent, but there certainly are some pockets of line items that will not, and we expect that we should be turning back more than we normally would.
So then, Deb, just when we met in person, you talked about you were running maybe a shortfall with insurance costs, but that's taking care of itself. Are we talking about Burgess? I'm kind of combining the whole.
Okay, see, there you go. All right, so 2 separate conversations. So that everything I just went through was Burgess, which I don't have the insurance issue at Burgess. Tantasc, we're going to have similar things. We're going to have similar lines, but definitely more bigger utility lines, anything. So I do anticipate there will be some funds, and we're doing the dance right now of trying to figure out what to do as we close the year, because as you know, anything that we have in excess for Tantasqua would roll into E&D. We've already committed to using $600,000 of the E&D to pay for the window project, which is ready to start in a couple of weeks. And we ended up not borrowing at all and asking the towns for any of it. So we're in a situation where it's like, okay, great. If there's a couple $100,000 that we can actually put back into E&D as we're getting ready to drain half of it, that's awesome. But at the same time, we're sitting here, like all of you, trying to dust off the crystal ball and say, what is next year going to look like? What is the budget going to look like? No one knows anything. The only thing that I've said, we feel like we have to do something. So if nothing else, we're looking at all of our budgets and saying, what happens if at least they level fund Chapter 70 every place? So for Burgess, that's not a ton. For Tantasqua, a level Chapter 70 is $291,000. So when we start looking at that and looking at what could we cut, where do we go first, I'm also balancing with, well, should we put a little bit more E&D towards the budget? It's this, do I save it or do I use it for next year's budget without even knowing for sure yet what the state money is going to be? So we're struggling a little bit with that. We're going to work through the other areas Tantasqua is saving that is not a Burgess savings is spring sports. So the spring sports season did not happen. There was a little bit of prep work on the coaches' part. One sport, middle school baseball did have tryouts. So we're compensating coaches for a few hours of prep work and getting their rosters ready and getting ready for tryouts, and those who actually did tryouts, giving them a little bit. But for the most part, those coaches' stipends are not being paid. The supplies used for spring season is not being paid. So that's going to result in another good chunk of money sitting there at the end of the year that can go into E&D. Again, E&D to be used for fiscal 21 or fiscal 22 is where we're still trying to talk it through. So insurance. I'm so sorry. I answered every question except the one you asked, Kevin. So I have good news, bad news. The health insurance, which I was very concerned with, we ended up making out okay. Our membership did vote, even despite this crazy times remotely. They did vote and agree we're changing providers. We're going from Fallon to Blue Cross Blue Shield Direct, and that did save us. I mean, it saved us from a 19% down to probably closer to a 10% increase, 10 to 12%, depending on which product they took. So I was happy to say at least that we stayed within budget there. Unfortunately, the flip side challenge we had was what we all knew was coming down the pike and finally hit us, which is a pretty significant increase for our liability insurance. The massive claims that we had at the high school finally caught up with us. So the liability insurance came in significantly higher than I had anticipated in the budget. That will very likely result in me needing to recommend that we put less into the OPEB trust fund to cover the shortfall there.
Any other questions, Kevin?
No, I'm good. I mean, do you want me to make a motion so we do everything under discussion?
Yeah, you can do that.
All right, so then I'll make a motion for the Burgess Elementary School budget in the amount of $12,077,053.
Is there a second? Second?
I second it.
Karen. I think Karen first, yeah. Okay, discussion. Karen?
No, I think everybody is thinking the same thing. There's so much uncertainty. So, no, I don't have any questions.
Bruce?
No questions.
I think, Kevin, you've answered. Mike?
Yeah, just a process question. So we're voting a total budget of $12 million here. When the budget's presented, there are different series of accounts and expenditures within those accounts. But by voting just the overall bottom line budget, that does give the schools the ability to move money between the 2000 series and the 3000 series accounts as needed during the years. Is that a correct statement?
Yep, that is actually per Mass General Law and Ed Reform, which is actually, one of the reasons that we make sure the law requires there's a separate school committee public hearing, because the school committee and the school committee alone can transfer amongst lines, and once the bottom line is the town body is voting one line, either yay or nay. Yes, we support the line on there, or they could put another number, but they can't say what would be cut to get to that number. Only the school committee can make that vote.
And that was going to be my second question. So during the year when you want to move money from the 2000 series to the 3000 series, so you have extra money in one of those series and you want to make some capital improvements or whatever, the school committee needs to review those changes before those actions are taken, right?
Yeah, and there's a couple of kind of thoughts there. Actually, they get a finance report every single month. So every month they get the report, they see where things are. If it looks like something is going to run short, we have a conversation and say, this is how we think we're going to cover it, exactly what line it will be. If there's a transfer, we always recommend a transfer if it's something pretty big and significant that we want to change that starting number. In some cases, if we know a line's going to be short by 1,000 and we know we're going to have another line that's going to have the funds and we're going to leave it be, we on occasion, especially if it's in the same category, won't vote the transfer. I've had a lot of conversations with our auditors, and our auditors actually encourage us not to transfer too often for a couple of reasons. They say, A, if you transfer every single time, you lose track of what your beginning balance was, and when I go back and look and see what did I overspend or underspend, it's hard to see that. B, with so many line items, they said years ago, if you require a transfer for every single one, your principals are going to start trying to, maybe order something through the custodial cleaning line that's actually a teaching supply line, and just try to sneak it through because they're afraid they have to answer to you for every single overage, which our principals are pretty good. They're really not worried about that. But it's more about having a good tracking system. So I'm always pushing to have a transfer if I actually permanently want to change that starting number. And then when I start building next year's budget, that starting number is where I'm looking at. And I know it's more of a permanently change. If it's a 1-year change, I might not do the transfer. But we usually try to keep things within a category. Within special ed, if there's movement within special ed, we might not do a transfer if it's from one line to another, or within teaching, direct teaching from one line to another. But we might do a transfer if I'm moving something out of teachers' salaries to cover tuitions, because those tuitions are probably going to be there next year too. So I may as well just change that starting balance and move forward.
Okay, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, lost track of which way I was going. Bruce, did you have any questions?
No questions.
Karen?
I'm all set.
Jim?
Just a curiosity. It's not even a rounding error, but for the Burgess budget and the detail on page 29, the department request versus the recommended, there's a discrepancy of exactly $6,000. I was just curious.
Charter school transportation.
Oh, so it's on your document. Yep.
Burgess line, 12083 versus 12077 on the Burgess line, $6,000.
Yeah, charter school transportation.
So the charter transportation is the same as last year.
Right, but it's the 6,000 in there, isn't it? That's where it was.
6,019, 20, it's proposed for 21. So it's not like it moved from one to the other. It's already there.
Okay, that's where I thought it was. I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to use a famous expression from one of our members, it's not even a rounding error, but it's a curiosity.
Yeah. So what number do you have?
Well, for Burgess, the requested amount was 12083.053, and the recommended is 12077.53, which is exactly $6,000 difference. You know, not important in the overall scheme of things, but
yeah, the 083. In fact, just to remind you all, I think you were actually at the meeting and we did it. The original budget was 123,053, and we brought down 100,000 even the night of the public hearing. So that is the official 083,053 is the Burgess request. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you've got the charter transportation may very well, 6,000 sounds like it's probably been a plug number for a few years. I'm not sure what you're getting charged for that transportation. You might not be getting charged anything. I think in year one, I think they had said that they were just going to let it go, but I don't see any of that at all.
But that doesn't answer my question.
No, Deb, you definitely confused us there.
Yeah. Well, I'm speculating about I don't know what your $6,000 difference is. I know our formal request.
What we have, Deb,
Yeah, the formal request we have to you, I believe what was voted at public hearing was 12183,053.
Oh.
You reduced that by 100,000.
I'm sorry, 083. 12083,053.
Yeah.
The recommended amount is 12077.
953.
Oh, then
That's
I'm not.
the number that's the number I sent you the other day, and that's the number you said was good.
So it was 053.
It is
The last
05.
three digits
Yeah,
are
it's 053.
Let me, you know what, you won't even know. I'm going to talk to Aaron for a minute. Let me run to my office next door.
Recommended is 053. Their request was 08.
Right. My email here is 120775053.
Yeah, that's what is in the book.
Yeah, and that's what I
The motion was.
with Deb. She said that was the number.
And what I'm saying is on the detail page, the department request is 12083. The administrator recommended is 12077. There's a $6,000 discrepancy between what was requested and what we're voting to approve. And I'm just curious where the difference was. And we've already spent the $6,000 kicking it around, so.
It's worth checking out. There's already a $6,000 charter school line in there. I know it raises flags, so, good question.
The math doesn't work, that's all.
Right.
Well, I mean, the number we're going forward with is the lesser of the two.
I agree, I'm just asking where the change took place. Oh,
I'll give you points for trying on that one, Kevin.
I'm sorry,
And
you
I
guys
withdraw
are
the
right.
question at this point.
We got more than 100 even.
There you go.
You guys are right, the 077 is accurate.
Okay.
It was a little more than 100,000 we cut that night.
Yeah, I think I remember. It was, wait a minute.
There were like 3 or 4 lines.
I have it somewhere here.
Yep.
Yeah, I do.
106,000 is what we cut. Yep. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, I
Is
have
your
it down
answer here?
written from that night, 12/077/053.
Nope, I got it right here. I didn't have the binder with me remotely. I started actually in this whole thing putting every binder in my box and traveled with it for a while, whether I was home or not. But I've left it here, and now I see. Yep, so the 077 is correct, 053.
Okay. All right. Did I get to everybody? I don't think I did. Joni, you were the one. I think I was with you last, right? Or Jim?
You were, and I don't have, it was Jim, but I don't have any questions.
Jim, were you all set, or did you have any other questions?
So I'm all set, thank you.
Jared,
Okay. Jared.
Hi. I've got, I will have 3 kids going into the school system, 7th, 4th, and kindergarten. And I fully understand that this is very much unable to see the future. But assuming this could go on, or we could be back in the second wave or something going on like this again, has there been any chance to get feedback from the public? Specifically, are you hearing from parents on how this is working or ways it could be improved? Because it kind of feels like we're just going along with this, along for a ride, and I just want to get
Absolutely. I'm going to let Erin talk a little bit about kind of the evolution and absolutely the feedback that we've gotten so far and what we're seeking, as we don't kid ourselves to think that this is never going to happen again after June 12th. We did initially have teachers be the primary folks who reached out to families. Just a reminder for everyone, if you don't have children, we started with what the state referred to as phase 1, which was truly enrichment work, just keep the children engaged and connected to school following the first 3 weeks following the close down. And then they asked us to go a little bit deeper in that enrichment opportunity, but again, discouraging the teaching of new standards or new content, understanding that the onboarding to this new model was challenging, not just for teachers and children, but families who were themselves at home trying to work, do their jobs, keep their children engaged in school. So when we received updated information at the very end of April to move to what we called phase 3, or the state refers to as phase 3, and that's to identify standards that have not been taught, but that would highlight prerequisite skills for any child to have before they move to the next grade next year. So throughout that process, at different phases, individual teachers reached out to individual families. Some teachers went right on board with going virtual, and the commissioner was clear in saying remote learning is not virtual, it is not online, it can be packets, it can be reading assignments or projects. So it really hasn't been to this last phase that we knew we needed to absolutely confirm if we were going online that families had access to those devices. So each of our schools at the elementary level reached out individually. Some did an informal survey just to find out where the parents were or the families were, especially as we were becoming more online driven, and some just emailed parents. So depending on the school where we were, we do have a plan to do what we're calling an exit, end of remote learning kind of exit survey, to do exactly what I think you're suggesting, Jared, which is to say, how did it go in your house? How were things going? We do a lot of feedback, again, through the teacher as well as the principal, but we're going to do a formalized survey to find out what would be needed. If, you know, we're planning for everything. Phase 4, the commissioner is referring to how school looks next year. How do we bring children back? How do we bring staff back? And how do we provision as best we can, understanding that we likely need unanticipated resources at a time that diminishing funds, that we're intersecting those two things, and to really start to be creative about what we're doing. So I don't know if that answers your question about what direction we're going in.
It does. It does. Thank you.
Did you have anything else, Jared?
That was all. Thank you for all your efforts and everything that's been going on.
Thank you.
Larry?
We know it's not easy on the family, boy. We get that.
Yeah.
Oh, we get that.
Yeah, we all talk about family and parent involvement, but who knew that this is what it was going to be defined as, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I've learned lots of different ways to do math.
Not the way you were taught, I imagine. Larry, questions?
I do think the administration is consistently doing all it can, anticipating and doing all that it can as soon as it can. A major tip of the hat to Aaron and to Deb. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Okay. What did I miss? Karen, did I get to you?
You got me. I'm all set.
Okay, yeah, I had another call coming through, so I got distracted there. I did have one or two questions myself. You know, I know, Deb, you said you don't really know what the state's doing, and we don't really know ourselves what revenues will look like for the town or any of the towns. If the towns need to make cuts next year, is the school also prepared to join in on that?
Yeah.
Percentage. Have you even addressed that or thought about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I said, while you get no answers, we don't get to just sit here and do nothing. So it's really, you know, how many different versions of what could happen do we want to try and assume and build plans for? You know, we've got at least 2 or 3. Burgess, quite frankly, between now and June, we may very well even have a little bit of a reduction to share with you. We're already looking at within central office. What might we do? We have a joint meeting the end of May with all 6 school committees. So we're going to have a discussion there that might result in a reduction. Of course, a central office reduction only results in a piece in the Burgess budget, a piece in Tantascwa, but we're anticipating everyone is going to need to squeeze at various levels. The interesting thing with Burgess is, which is what I've said to a couple of other districts, my only Sally Sunshine spin is, we were very annoyed and disappointed when some of our districts, one being Sturbridge, didn't get any Student Opportunity Act money, so didn't get a big bump in Chapter 70. On the flip side, if we end up with a model where that gets put on hold and Chapter 70 gets level funded, even if that's best case, ironically, what we weren't getting the big chunk, so to go down to level funding Chapter 70 isn't a whole lot. It is a whole lot for a couple of the other elementary schools, and as I said, for Tantascwa. So we're building a Tantascwa plan at $290,000 if they level Chapter 70, which doesn't allow us to change assessments. We've just got to suck that all up within where we are right now. But we're absolutely working on the list. We're doing lots of things like, if there are retirements, we're not likely going to be filling those by the end of the school year where we normally would. We've got to wait and see, what late summer brings before we can fill positions. I'm going to meet with Kathy Pelly to continue to look at some options for Sturbridge. But as I said, I think
we're looking at central office right off the bat, and we're probably going to make some recommendations on a little bit of adjustment at the central office. So that would immediately flow out, and I would let you folks know the minute that happens, if it happens, because that affects every single budget. So if we can save a few bucks there, we're going to let you know on the Burgess end. Other things we're looking at is professional development, which is very important, but if that's an area we've got to squeeze, we will do so. It's just, as Erin said, it's a real struggle because we want to squeeze, we want to help the towns, and at the same time, we have no idea what we're going to be expected to do come September and October, and how do we handle the need for probably more medical assistance, whether it be in supplies or in manpower. We're going to need more cleaning, more rigorous cleaning with perhaps different products. So we're trying to balance all that need. We don't know. We don't know if more transportation is going to be needed instead of less, because we've got to do kind of strange things with the school schedule. So we are absolutely working on these lists. We're prepared for the fact that we may very well end up with budgets by the end of June, which I'd be thrilled if we have budgets, but find out come September, October, November that the numbers we used are just false, or that the state even gives us a number. Many times we've been in the fall finding out the state is talking about 9C cuts because they're missing the mark. So I won't be surprised at all if we're there, and we'll do our best to be prepared.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else have any questions before we vote on the Burgess budget? No? Okay, we're voting on Burgess right now, $12,077,053. Roll call vote. Start with Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. So that is 9-0 on the Burgess budget. So moving on to Tantascwa, Kevin.
Okay, so as you all know, this is just Sturbridge's portion of the entire regional budget. And, one of the things that kind of hurt us in a way is our percentage went up from 49.04 to 51%. So that automatically raises the number just by doing that. So I would go forth with doing the total Tantascwa town share at $7,479,503.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Karen Davis.
Okay, Karen, second. And just a note that does also include the transportation of 106,405. So, questions on Tantascwa? Kevin, did you have a question on the
No, I'm
Tantascwa?
good with that. Thank you.
Okay. Mike?
Yes. No question.
Do you have any questions? Okay, we're just doing questions now. Jim?
No questions, thank you.
Joni?
No questions, Kathy.
Jared, you have one heading to the junior high, don't you, next year?
Yeah, we have a sign in our yard.
Oh,
That's just heartbreaking. We will take care of those kids. We promise.
Did you have any
No
questions,
question.
Jared?
No.
Okay, Larry?
No question.
Karen?
No question.
Bruce?
I'd just like to second what Larry and Kevin said. I don't know how anyone puts a budget together under these circumstances, so I won't bother you with a lot of questions now, except for one. Is it possible that if there's a big outbreak in the fall, that you go back down in the numbers of what you're using? In other words, from stage 3 to stage 2?
Absolutely. We'd be fools if we thought not. So the good news with that is we've already been through the phase 1 of preparing to do it, and now we kind of learned how to do it, which is awesome. So, but that's definitely something we're keeping in mind. which brings us to when we're talking about how do we prepare for that, I'll go back a little bit and mention when we did this, we have loaned out a lot of our Google Chromebooks, which is a concern. I'm very concerned at what conditions some of them might come back in. And even if we were able to just stay in our buildings, we don't want to decrease our technology. So I'm concerned the capital plan that we did put as part of the budget for Burgess and Tantascwa, I think has one more cart of Chromebooks in it. So that's good. But that's a thing that if we were to get, if we get the federal funds or some CARES Act to do anything COVID related, one of the things we'll be looking at is trying to get some more devices because we pretty much loaned out every one at Burgess that we had for the Google Chromebook. So hopefully they will come back in good conditions. But if we got to go there again in the fall, there could be more people needing them.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, are we all ready to vote then? Start with Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. So again, 9-0, Tantascwa budget passes. And
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank
Wait,
you.
we got one more line item to go.
Still have the charter for school transportation, but I don't know if that's just the number that gets put in. Kevin, you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we recommend $6,000 for charter school transportation.
I'll second it.
Karen. Any questions at all? I don't know. I need to go through the list. I think that's been level funded. All right. Roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. So that's another vote of 9-0. So thank you, Deb and Aaron, for
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your support. We will be in touch as we hear anything or vote anything different. And, we're pretty good at kind of keeping in touch with each other. And we'll see you folks on June 29th instead of June 1st, correct?
Yes.
Interesting just a little trivia for you all. Legislation it's gone through the Senate and it's sitting on the House, and I'm quite sure any minute it'll be passed. But another piece of emergency legislation was to allow towns to have their town meetings outside of their town. So our other member towns are able to, and thus far we've got 2 of them that have already locked into dates in June to come up and have their town meeting at the high school where they can feel more comfortable that they're going to have social distancing, where usually it's in their elementary school cafeteria. And so I was really pleased to see that legislation, and thus far 2 of them have jumped in, and one more has mentioned the interest. So, hopefully we actually can get some town meetings in June, and then, we'll all be looking at it again in September and October, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks for that update.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, Aaron.
Good night. Okay, just going through the budget. Jean Boubin, the town planner, is coming next week. She has a number of zoning articles, so we'll do her next week in ZBA. I believe the Veterans Agent is coming next week too. Barbara, did you say? I think I got a message from you point on that.
Yep.
Okay. So I think the only one that I'm looking at here that we haven't done besides those is economic development.
Well, do we need to
Oh,
add
okay.
do we need to add a DCU line item here so we can have our town meeting in Worcester?
Yeah, right.
So it's been spaced out?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, I mean, we could make more use of that, the balcony there at the,
Yeah.
where nobody can see anything, but anyway. So on page C5 is economic development, which I think maybe we could manage to get to just barely up 1.7%. Don't even know who. Actually, I know that both Karen and I had that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there is nobody now, right?
We didn't hire anyone yet? Nobody yet?
That's where I was putting.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I can answer questions. I wish I had known this was going to be on. We would have invited the chairman of the tourism committee to participate, but I can answer questions this evening. We did hire somebody. The Board of Selectmen will concur with the appointment on Monday, and hopefully in the first week of June, the new person will start.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And how many hours? Sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
How many hours is this person planning on being? Because I know that it was, what was it, last year we actually made it more of a line item. It's going to be a line item from now on, right?
Yeah, we are moving this position to 37 and a half hours and have it be a salaried position rather than an hourly position.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So it is no longer going to be funded from STA?
No, actually, the additional hours are all coming from STA. So the general fund impact, even though we're ramping up the hours from 28 to 37 and a half, the general fund's not picking up any additional cost. It's all coming out of the STA for next year. At some point, we'll rebalance that, but for next year, the STA is going to pick up the additional dollars to make it a 37 and a half hour position.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions on this?
Yeah, this is Mike. I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So, while we're looking at only $19,000 from the STATA budget, the other half of this is being paid. So this is going to be full-time economic development position. So I guess I'd kind of like to know what the role of this position is. I'm not so sure why the town is paying for tourism. That's really sadder than the chamber, although we'd like to encourage that environment overall because we get some benefits from that. But in terms of economic development, what are the goals for this position as of now that it's full-time, and how do we gauge success in meeting those goals that we're getting our money's worth for this position? I typically see economic, development positions kind of roll into a planning position where they're working with trying to attract new businesses, get them through the planning process. As I look around, I see very few towns the size of Service have a full-time economic development person working for them. And so I'm just trying to figure out, for the money I'm spending, what should I expect for the results? How can I gauge whether we're getting the effectiveness of this position and getting our money's worth going forward?
Jeff, you want to take that?
Please. So I think the backdrop to all of this position is the fact that we charge a hotelier's tax in town. And those hotels pay that tax with the expectation they're going to get something in return rather than just a general fund offset. Okay, so a piece of that hotel tax goes into promoting tourism in town. And this position is the position that does that. They work with the hoteliers, they develop marketing plans, they work with the regional events and the local events to bring people into town to stay in the hotels, eat in the restaurants, which benefits, again, the meals tax. So this is very much a tourism-based position. How do we bring more people to town? And that is the primary function, given Kevin's 28 hours he was working. That was his primary function. And to that end, the tourism committee has undertaken a very sophisticated marketing plan and hired a consultant to revise the marketing plan to help bring more people to town. And next year, it even becomes more critical given the situation our tourism sector is going to be in. OSV's been shut down. The hotels have been shut down. Events have been canceled. Pan Mass has been canceled. So it's going to be even more important to put more resources behind this type of position to work with our hotels, restaurants, tourism attractions, all those things to get Sturbridge back out in front of people and get people coming back to town. In addition, the economic development position does work with the planner, but also works with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all the programs they offer to help businesses expand, help businesses grow, help reutilize properties that are underutilized, and all those good things that economic development directors do. You know, Kevin worked with the hotels to get the TIFs. We've worked with 2 particular new industries in town to get them TIFs before the town meeting. One is on hiatus because of the issue. The other, New England Cold, came to town. They're going to build a substantial facility in the technology park. There's a TIF on the warrant for them. So those type of things to help businesses be successful in Sturbridge, to help businesses come to Sturbridge, all those things get rolled into this type of position. And I think it's critical that we have that. We have a commercial corridor that goes through periods of revitalization and goes through periods where it needs more revitalization. And there are programs we can bring to town if we have the proper people to administer it. My office doesn't have the time. Gene's office doesn't have the time. So having someone in this position full-time adds value every day to what we're trying to do for the businesses of Sturbridge, for the people of Sturbridge. And I'm behind it 100%. It was my idea to ramp up the hours, and I'm looking forward to having a very energetic person take that gig and make it, and just keep it going.
So I tend to disagree a little bit on, we're taking hotel taxes, and the hotels should expect us to reinvest that money back into tourism. I think we should be, as a town, supporting tourism, but, part of that's to offset, money that's coming in. We're also collecting that hotel tax, being apportioned to the state. They pay regular sales tax and everything else. So I kind of disagree with that part of it. But if you tell me if this person is going to go out and start to attract new businesses, to work with existing businesses, you can look down parts of Route 20 where they say, that looks like a place that could use a little bit of assistance, probably getting some grants to help that business expand, do some upgrades, do whatever else. Again, bringing new businesses down in and developing and increasing our tax base and our employment base, then that might be okay for this an appropriate role. And I think we should be able to look at the end of the year of, how many contacts are out there, how many new businesses were attracted as a result of this position that otherwise wouldn't come here, how many grants were applied for and obtained to help existing businesses. Mm-hmm. If it's just loading Sturbridge as tourism, then I'm not so sure I really need to spend a lot of taxpayer dollars on that. I think businesses, chamber, and tourists can do that. So, and also be clear, so this is strictly on those roles. This is not intended to be like an assistant planner position or otherwise supporting the planning board in any of the housing or any of the other projects that are going over there. This is simply to focus on bringing in new businesses, working on the tourism message, interacting with planning as they have new things coming in and they have to go through the planning process, but it's not really designed to otherwise supplement staff with planning-related activities.
Not really, no, but they would participate if there was a big housing project coming to town. They would participate in that and help them secure resources if they needed it. And I think to remember, the special legislation that created the hotel tax that we enjoy in the general fund specified that a piece goes to betterment and a piece goes to tourism. So we're locked into utilizing that money in the tourism field in Sturbridge and that has evolved into substantial dollars. And those substantial dollars can be
But
put...
does get a piece of the betterment already, separately from what the town gets.
Say again?
The Tourist Association gets its share of the hotel motel tax. That's separate from the betterment. So it's not like we have to, use our money to additionally support.
We're not using our money, we're using this tourism money for this position. We're not taking any money from betterment, we're not taking any money from the general fund. This is all, other than the money that's already in the general fund, the $19,000 plus. The tourism fund's picking up a majority of this cost for this position.
Okay, but again, I'd like to, I'll be looking if this does move forward for a way to gauge the effectiveness of this role now that we're cranking it up to a full-time position here. Thanks, I'm all set with my questions.
Okay, Larry, have any questions?
No questions.
Jared?
No question.
Joni?
No, I'm good.
Jim?
No questions.
Kev?
Yes, actually, I've always been, the function that as you described for this position, I think is absolutely needed. My argument has always been that this should be actually part of the function in the role of an assistant town administrator, and that it should be going into Jeff's office to also when these, it's not, I still don't see the argument where it's a 40, I'm going to call it a 40-hour week job, 2,080 hours a year. But, it's probably a significant portion of it, 60, 70%, and that remaining time could be used to help Jeff, where Jeff could be our CEO, and this guy could be the COO and actually running the details of the town. I like the function. I just think it could be better used and utilized helping in other areas too.
Is that a question?
No, it's a statement, because I've always been that this should be an assistant town administrator.
I don't know if this town's big enough for an assistant town administrator, at least in my experience. We have very good department heads that know what they're doing and that can do their job. I don't know, maybe it'll evolve that way over time. But right now, we need someone in the economic development, working on tourism, working with the hoteliers, working with OSV, working on special events, managing those things, and that's really where my office needs the help.
Okay,
Kathy?
Larry? Go ahead, Larry.
I wonder if a split job, part of which carries the title of assistant town administrator, is actually an invitation to put up a revolving door where someone builds a resume and hits the road.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just think adding that layer right now creates expectations. And I think the person we're bringing in is going to do very well at the economic development position. And I think we ought to try it there. Kevin was split with his time with emergency management. I think we need to see how the economic development side works and focus on that. Those tourism dollars that come to town are very important to our budget, and we're very fortunate to have those special taxes that help keep the tax rate down. And we should use some of those dollars to keep those businesses viable, to keep that communication open. The chamber is a regional chamber, so although they do help, they're not focused on Sturbridge. They're focused on the region. So I need someone that's going to focus on Sturbridge, a contact for Sturbridge, communicate with Sturbridge's businesses, develop special events for Sturbridge, and coordinate departments as we work through different events and different things in town that help attract people to Sturbridge. So that's really the benefit to this position. We'll see how it evolves over time. But right now, I'm not interested in having an assistant town administrator.
Hey, Bruce, any questions?
Yes.
ahead.
Jeff, I'm sorry, I know we're all tired, but I just got to know, is there a plan B if, 2/3 of the entertainment companies in Sturbridge are gone by the fall? Is there a different plan?
Well, the money that's going to be used next year is money that's already been collected. So if the revenues drop off for next year, it's the following year that would be impacted.
Okay. Thank you.
Off that, Bruce?
Yep.
Okay, Karen, any questions?
No questions, Kathy.
Okay, Karen, would you like to make a motion for?
Wait, hang on, Kathy. I thought I saw her wave.
I did.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I didn't want to be a pain in the ass. Just a pain in the butt. So I just want to say that I have worked with Kevin for the past, well, since he's been here, right? And everybody knows I've had a little bit of an interest in the STA, having been on that committee. I think that Joe's on the right path with this position. Kevin himself did an amazing job of bringing a lot of things to this town. He got the place organized. I've continued to be on his emails. I've continued to support him at his monthly meetings with the businesses. I mean, his communication skills were excellent, and that alone, reaching out to all of the businesses as a former business owner in Sturbridge, it's huge. I mean, we didn't have that when I had my business. We didn't have this sense of community. And if this person can continue with that same, ideology, however you say that word, it would be really good. I mean, the benefits are huge. Now, economic development, we have a job description. I know it's a lot of it is tourism, a lot of it is bringing the businesses together, but we specifically mentioned the economic development so that there would be that component so that the person in the position would help out if necessary, to areas where we could improve and all that. But I have to say, having this position as opposed to just the straight STA, it's bringing in better opportunities for the small businesses in town to benefit from. I think farmers market is one that comes to mind. It's the farmers market. Nobody would have come up with that. He did that. He has the ability to do that as opposed to a committee of just volunteers. So, I think it's great. I'm looking forward to meeting this person. That's it.
Okay, are we ready for a motion now?
Kathy, I just want to throw out one more thing. I know we've used the term a couple times in our meetings. I just rereading the chart. Jeff's position, and I'm not trying to diminish it, and I think he's doing a great job. A welcome addition to town. The town administrator is our chief administrative officer, and the selectmen are our chief executive officers. He often refer to Jeff as the executive officer. He's the administrative side. And you are doing a good job, so I'm not trying to diminish it.
No, it's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Unfortunately.
All right, motion, please. All right.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget.
All right, Kevin.
I got to put my glasses back on at $21,168 because Jeff and Joni made really good arguments for it.
Yes.
Thank you, Joni. Good job.
Okay, we have a second with Jim. All right, let's get this voted here. Karen?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Mike?
I was going to vote no, but Jeff and Joni made good arguments, so I'll vote yes this year with the understanding that you're going to have to convince me of the value that was added throughout the year to get me to vote yes.
All right, Jim?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Kathy, yes, so that's 9-0. That is, today is 5/14. Okay, so we've done everything we can do there. I'd like to knock off a few articles and then do the minutes and then end this meeting. So if you have your town meeting warrant articles, I've highlighted a few that we can hopefully just get right through. Article 1 being town reports. They
I
ready?
make the article is written.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, your second.
Mike, all right, hold on here. Any discussion on the town report? If not, roll call vote. Wait a minute. These roll calls. Article 1. All right, Larry,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Joni,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Kathy, yes, 9-0. All right. We haven't seen the preservation, the CPC report yet, so I think we'll pass over it. But I think that we could go right to Article 3, the administration funds. This is $20,000 for their operating admin expenses. This is the same, I believe, as last year.
How much did they spend? Do we know?
That I don't know. Jim, do you know? You look at the budget a lot. Or Barbara?
You're asking me, Jim?
I'm asking everybody.
I didn't look at that. I didn't look at that.
Give me a minute.
Barbara will know.
I thought Jeff was gonna use some of this for an appraisal on a piece of property that we didn't give him a reserve fund transfer for.
We did.
That was this year's budget, though.
Yeah. Well, they're asking, that was the question, how much has been used to date, spent to date? 20 that we allocated for 2020, FY20.
I mean, because this went up for a long time. It was, what, 14,000?
It was 15.
15, and then it went up.
It went up, I think, just last year to 20. So it could be legal expenses, appraisals, CPA dues, the coalition dues, all that sort of thing.
So far this year, they used about 5,400. And it was actually 22,000. Well, it was 22,000 this year, so they're going down by 2,000.
Oh, my mistake. All right, so they went down to 20. Would anyone like to make a motion? On Article
Okay,
3?
then I'll make a motion that we recommend town meeting approve the article as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second Jared Burns.
Okay. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
I just don't, I'm not sure if it's fully warranted. That's my concern.
Kathy? 2 different years, 2 different budgets, 2 different activities. It's really zero-based in many ways. They could have spent no money this year and be fully justified in spending all of what they propose in the next year. And they could spend all of it on the last day of the year. It's perfectly okay. We never, ever live this year and its activities ever again. Ever. After all, if we're going to compare the coming year to this year, why don't we compare the coming year to...
I think we lost him.
I think so.
I want to know what year. I want to know.
1903.
1948. It's
So,
over.
Larry,
Doesn't
what
matter.
year were you saying when you froze up?
It froze.
That was,
What,
we lost your sound too, Larry.
Yeah, he's not coming through.
At what point that happened?
When you were comparing it to another year, we all wanted to know what year you were comparing it to.
48.
Oh, 1948.
1948.
Oh,
It's over. It's impossible to compare. It can't be duplicated.
all right. Any other comments or questions? If not, are we ready for a vote? The roll call vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yeah.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kathy, yes. That is 9-0. Let's see. It was my next one. I thought we could do. Oh, I think we can do the debt service. Pretty much, it is what it is. That's Article 4.
I'll make a motion that we approve the article.
There's a second.
Jim, I'll second.
All right, Jim and Kevin and Jim. Discussion? These are all getting paid down. I think we usually see how many years and all that when we get the reports at the end of the book.
This is Mike. I was wondering, I always keep looking for how much we got left. I don't know if there's a way to add when it ends in the description, or if you say we get it in the back of the book, there's a page here with all the other debt. I'm okay.
There's usually a page in the book on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I have last year's book, and yeah, falling apart here. And it's, I think it's in the paper back. So yeah, actually it's under the outstanding debt. So that it specifies the CPA fund. So yeah.
I have that information if you want it.
Yeah, it goes from the town hall is 2029, the OSD land is 2025, Heinz land 2025, and the recreation court is, well, it says 1932, but
I know, it's actually 2032, yeah.
So, yeah. So that's that, so.
I was going back in time with Larry.
I guess so.
Must have been a good year.
I guess so. All right, any other discussion on the debt service? Hearing none, roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni? Yes. Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Kathy, yes, so that is 9-0. Let's see. I don't know if you want to do Article 5. I think that this is one we've done many times over and over again, the gravestone restoration for $9,500 for the North Cemetery or the old burial ground. I believe it's the same
Company, same everything.
company that does it, and
So Kathy, this is Mike. If the committee wants to vote it, that's fine. I'll vote no tonight, but I guess I have the same question I have every year. It seems like a small amount of money, but I'm just looking for the accountability. I'd like an idea from the people who guiding the expenditures of what we've done to date and what the long-term plan is here. Is this $9,000 a year in perpetuity? I think we spent close to $50,000 or $100,000 on this so far. If that came as a single line item in here, we'd probably be questioning it quite a bit. So I'm just looking for to get an idea as to what the scope of this project is overall, how much we've done to date, and how much longer it's going to keep on going on. it's an okay project. It's hard to say no against, whatever, but I'm just looking for some background, some accountability for the expenditures that just keep happening over and over.
Well, I mean, my recollection is that they usually do have a certain scope of work for each year, and some of it could be one grave site is very extensive, and other years it's smaller. The damages on the street, and so they do more. Jeff just went to grab something, and he has some input here.
I can send the proposal that the company submitted to CPC to you. It has some background on it, and each year we do get a report on what was accomplished, and it's on file. We can make sure you get a copy of those, or at least the most recent one. But I can send this out to you all tomorrow.
I'd like to know what the overall scope is and how far we're in. Sort of scope for whether it's 1 or 12 graves that are being repaired this year. I just want to know how close we are to the end of this. Things we funded year after year. It's a worthwhile project. I'm just looking to get the overall perspective there.
Yep, I can get this to you.
Do you want to wait on that one then?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see. I always do 1 or 2 more because we have some minutes, and we're going to try and get it done by 9. Let's see. I've written down here road construction, which Article 16. Actually, we do this. We've been doing this every year this way as a separate article. I believe it's actually a little bit less this year than prior year, in the amount of $434,648 for road construction repair.
I'll make a motion we approve
I'll
the
make-
article written.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Anybody? I can't see everybody. So okay. It's Article 16, the road. Yeah, I'm jumping around a bit. I'm trying to get it. I thought would be easy to pass. The usual road stuff, $434,648. Not the usual article. Do you have any questions, Joni?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Let's do roll call vote. Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes, so that is 9-0 as well.
So Kathy, I'll make a motion that we approve Article 17 is written.
All righty. That's the,
I'll second that.
all right, wait a minute. Kevin, Jim. Again, this is the Public Access Department, which, a few years ago was separated out. So this is salaries, benefits, operating expenses. So the total is $120,536. Any discussion? Hearing none. Go to roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni? Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. And Kathy, yes, so that is 9-0. Passes.
Okay. I got one more in hand if you want it.
All right, one more.
I make a motion to approve Article 21 is written. That's the ambulance stabilization fund.
21, all right.
I'll second that.
I'll second him. Jim does. It seems Jim and Kevin were out of the seconding and stuff.
Okay, change that, I won't second. Let Joni take.
All right, this is, again, this is the annual, this year we're putting in $60,000 for the annual ambulance stabilization fund. And if approved, the balance will be, as you can see, $921. Any questions on that one? Or comments? Where are we in the cycle on this for a new ambulance? We just bought one, right, a couple years ago or a year ago?
Yeah, we took delivery of it in the summertime last year.
Oh, okay. So are we on a, how many year schedule is it usually?
7.
7? Are we on track for that?
Well, we had them like 2 or 3 years apart because of an accident. So
Because I know there was an accident at one point.
I can find out from the chief.
The summary block says 7 years.
Yeah, but they're not 7 years apart. There was an accident where one got destroyed, and they ended up only being 2 or 3 years apart.
Yeah.
So we talked about this last year, maybe adding something in the end where we indicate, we expect the next ambulance to be purchased in and put a target year. So we don't have to ask the question every year when we get to this, and people have a general idea when the next one's coming up.
I'll find out from the chief when the next scheduled one is.
Well, I think we can still.
Oh, I do too. I'm fine
We
with
can just put it, when we find out, we could put it in the box. Are we ready for a vote? All right. Jared?
Yes.
Joni? Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes, so that's 9-0. So I think we'll stop here, get these minutes done. So next week, though, we will definitely be doing the, just so you can get prepared, those zoning articles at the end. We will be doing, so we'll be doing the planning board budget and the planning department budget, and then there are several articles at the end. I believe starting with Article 34. So make sure you read up on those. So you can have questions. Be prepared for questions. So, all right,
So Kathy, I just might note, this warrant seems to be a little better prepared than we've gotten some early drafts in the past years. I notice we're not talking about commas and punctuation and wording changes. So I think this got to us in a much better condition. We've had some earlier ones in the past this year.
well, let's hope it keeps going. Yeah. Okay, we have 3 sets of minutes. I didn't realize we did, but we do. First one is, which I think I sent out earlier, and we never, it was April 16th, 2020. Actually, Jim had reminded me we hadn't actually voted, so. Why don't we get a motion out there first, and then if there's any corrections.
I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes of April 16th as presented.
Is there a second? Tony? All righty. Any corrections, additions?
I don't seem to have them. I have your 23rd and 30th, so I guess I'll abstain because I haven't seen them.
I think she sent those out for the meeting.
I didn't send them out with this meeting.
Yeah,
I sent them separately, and I forgot to do them last week.
I think they came up. Kathy, when you sent us the spreadsheet, the last spreadsheet you sent us, with the expenditures year to date, it came with that email. Most
all right.
That's the other two together. The 23rd and
Now I found it. Yep. Thank you,
You found
Jim.
it? Good memory, Jim. If you want to take a quick minute to look at them.
Went through it, yeah.
while he's reading, I just want to give a thank you to Joanne, getting rid of all these minutes so quickly.
I know, they're probably a little more difficult than normal with all these roll call votes.
Right.
I'm good. I'm going to second Jim's motion if no one else has.
Joni did.
Okay.
I do see just one, and it's just a typo on the very first page under reserve fund transfers. The third, I guess it's the third paragraph, last line says unknown. It'd probably be unknown. That's the other thing I saw. Anybody else? If not, let's do a roll call vote. 416. Larry.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Kathy, yes, so that's a pass 9-0. All right. The next set of minutes is April 23rd, 2020.
Jim?
Anybody like to make
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Jim the motion maker here?
Yeah, he's the official minutes guy, yeah.
That's right, he is.
Yeah.
All right, any changes, comments on these? Anybody? Oh, I know, I looked at these, but, yikes. Oh, these are long minutes.
We sure are.
He did an incredible job.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a much harder job this year. All right, we ready to vote then?
See.
Larry,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Joni,
Sorry, yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and Kathy, yes. That is 9-0. And one more set.
You know, I just have one suggestion, just looking at these things, if it was me, it'd be a lot easier if maybe we took the roll call votes in the same order every time, because then you could put the initials in the same time and just keep repeating them and filling them in, instead of changing the initials all over the place.
Well, the reason I actually do that is so maybe people don't influence each other as much. I don't know.
I don't mind the rotation. It keeps me awake. But she can copy. We all vote 9-0. She can copy and paste from one to the next.
Yeah, I am doing the same rotation for the minutes, by the way. But no, I try to mix it up a little. So certain people, everybody gets a chance to speak first. And there's a method to my madness.
You could do it like the Supreme Court, right? The youngest guy starts to the senior justice.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, I don't always agree with the Supreme Court, though. So, Kevin, I'm going to leave that statement right there.
Okay.
April 30th minutes. Is there a motion to approve them?
I'll make the motion, but I have a correction.
Let's get the second first.
Okay.
I thought I heard a second, actually. Someone beat me to it.
Oh. Somebody make a second?
Guess not. Then I'll second.
All right, Kevin. All right, Jim, where's your correction?
On call to order, they listed Karen as Karen David. JD, and it should be.
Oh, yeah, David.
Yeah, I'm Karen David all the time. It happens all the time.
Just a spelling mistake, no big deal.
All right.
I'm just curious, who's they?
I mean, who's they?
You said they listed her as Karen Davis.
Oh, I'm sorry, we listed her as Karen Davis. No.
I was just, you must be snoozing.
I think you are, yeah.
A euphemism, give me a break.
All right, any other changes, the corrections? Hearing none, roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Joni?
Yeah.
Jim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes, so that is 9-0. We're caught up on those. So let's move on to old business. Anybody have any old business?
No.
I hope. Larry?
No.
Oh, I thought you were ready to put your hand up. Anybody else? Any new business?
Nope.
All right. Again, next week, we're Thursday, because I believe there's a conservation on Tuesday, right, Jeff? I keep looking at the calendar to see if we can keep it in our meeting, but somebody's meeting on Tuesday. I forget who.
Should be the Conservation Commission, unless
I
they
think
move.
it's conservation. Yeah. Okay.
But it's at 6 o'clock or 6:30 still. That's what I'm planning.
6:30. 6 is tough, so yeah. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Kevin and Joni, roll call vote. Larry?
If you insist. I mean, sure, why not?
Jared, yeah, I actually have another call waiting for me, so I gotta get going. Jared, yes. Okay. Joni?
Yeah.
Jim?
Good night.
I'll take that as a yes. Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
I thought he would have said Mrs. Calabash wherever you are, but I'm okay with it too. Yes.
All right, Karen?
Yes.
And Kathy, yes. So 9-0, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend, and see you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Good meeting. Good night.
Thanks, Jeff.
Good night.
Good night.